Hi, Caleb with Brownells here. In this edition of From the Vault, we're going to be taking a look at the HK VP9. Now, the VP9 translates to People's Pistol, which sounds super American, but it's actually a German-made handgun. It's used by German police, German forces, and is sold all over Europe. And obviously, it is also sold in the United States. There are different versions for each set of countries, which we'll get into later. But let's go ahead and take a look at the features of this particular handgun. So the VP9 is chambered in 9mm, 9x19, and it comes standard with a 15-round magazine. Now you can also get a 20-round extended magazine, or if you're in a freedom-deprived state, you can get it with a 10-round magazine. The firearm itself has fully ambidextrous controls, that being the slide release there, and also this interesting magazine release, which we'll get into more about here just in a little bit after I go through the other features. So this one does not come standard with a threaded barrel. It comes standard with just a flush fit barrel, non-threaded, and standard white dot night sights. This one here I have upgraded to night sights and a threaded barrel. So this would be more of the tactical variant that they sell. The tactical variant does come standard with a threaded barrel and night sights. Moving on from there, you have front and rear cocking serrations. You have a 1913 rail on the bottom to attach your favorite light, laser, whatever you want to attach there. And on the back here, let's take a look at some of these features. You have these paddles that stick out, and they actually mount. If you remove the sight, you can actually remove this and change these out, but this mounts on the rear to help give you extra purchase when pulling that slide back. Something I didn't really care too much about the first time I messed with it, but it does make it really easy to manipulate whenever you're shooting with gloves on. So that's a pretty cool feature there. It also has a cocking indicator. So if you take a look in the back here, you'll be able to see that red dot. Whenever that's visible, you know your striker is cocked. Of course, this is a striker-fired handgun. I'll get into that here in a little bit as well. And then whenever you can't see it, I'll go ahead and dry fire here. It is no longer cocked. So just a cool little feature there. You can visually, ensure that your firearm is indeed cocked. And let's talk about this magazine release a little more. So some people hated this gun whenever it came into the United States because of this. It's not your traditional push button. It's actually a paddle that you push down. The cool thing about it is that it's the same on both sides, so it's easy to, I don't have an issue with it. For me, it's still pretty instinctive because your thumb's in the same place anyway. But there are some people out there that did hate it, so they ended up making a HK VP9B, which actually has a button like your traditional American handguns, instead of this paddle. So that's also an option there. The trigger on this gun is phenomenal for a striker-fired handgun. You have a little bit of take up there on that first stage where it's actually moving your striker safety out the way. But then that second is super crisp and clean. It's not mushy like a lot of your striker-fired handguns tend to be. This one was actually really well designed. I would challenge you to try one, and you'll probably agree with me that this is the best factory trigger on pretty much any striker-fired handgun out there. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the variants of this particular firearm. There's a lot more in Europe than there are in the US. For example, you have your police versions, you have your special forces versions, which is kind of interesting because basically HK looked at the police and special forces and was basically like, okay, SF guys, you get a lighter trigger. Police, you guys are going to get a heavier trigger. So it's kind of funny. Just a little fun fact there, something I thought was interesting. And then there's competition versions, tactical versions, you have optic-ready versions. But the most common here in the United States is actually going to be that B variant I talked about. And then your SK, which actually has a shortened slide and shortened frame. So it's more of a compact version of this particular handgun. And that's a really, really cool gun as well. They also make this gun in a .40 caliber, which if you haven't guessed already, is called the VP40. But since this gun exists and 9mm is awesome, Don't know why you would seek that out, but if you do find one, again, that's still a really good gun. It also has interchangeable back straps. If I remember correctly, it comes with 3 out of the box that you can change, and it changes, it just dovetails onto the bottom here. You just pull it off, put on your new one to accommodate different hand sizes. So if you have an HK VP9, ever shot one, you'll probably agree with me that this is a really smooth shooting gun. But if so, let us know in the comments down below. We'd like to hear from you. And in general, if you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call on the tech line. We'll be happy to help you out. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. We'll see you next time when we bring you another gun from the vault.